Hi guys, Nick Jennison for Guitar Interactive, and today we're taking a look at the Kremona Fiesta. This is an all solid wood classical style guitar handcrafted in Bulgaria to the highest standards, and it's marketed as being appropriate not just for classical styles but also for Latin, jazz, fusion, pop, etc, etc, which may explain why I'm having so much fun with it given that I'm not a classical guitarist, although I do enjoy nylon string, especially one like this that plays really well and feels really nice for someone like myself who hasn't specialized in classical guitar and maybe doesn't have the nails or any of that sort of stuff. Now, in the intro you heard us playing with a plectrum, which is my preferred style. We are going to switch to some fingers next up, but do bear in mind, like I say, I don't have nails, I'm not wearing false nails, so do keep that in mind while you're listening to the tone of this guitar. What I will say is that even without nails, it projects as powerfully with just my pad fingers as it does with a plectrum, which is very impressive. We'll mic it up with my favorite configuration, which is an AKG 414, positioned over the sound hole but pointed towards the neck joint. Let's take a listen to how that sounds, then we'll come back and talk about the spec. So now we've listened to this guitar played with a couple of different styles, let's talk more about the spec, starting as we tend to do at the headstock. So beginning at the headstock, we have a traditional slotted peg head design with this really nice inlaid logo. I guess you might call it a relief logo, looks really pretty. We have an Indian rosewood 2-ply wood overlay, and I'm also going to show you the back of the neck, which is made of cedar. Now this carries on through the guitar's top. It's all solid woods throughout, and cedar is of course a traditional wood for classical guitars. You may be more familiar with the spruce that you would find on the top of a steel strung guitar, but cedar has a very particular sound. I actually really like it on steel strings as well, but to my mind, if it's not cedar, it's not really a classical guitar. And we have a cedar neck, it's wide, it's comparatively slim. It's not a huge boat style neck that you sometimes find on classical instruments. This is much more amenable to players like myself who've spent most of the time playing contemporary guitars. I'm going to flip this back over and show you the fretboard, which has no dot markers. We do have the classical style 5th and 7th and 12th dot markers on the top of the fretboard. The fretboard is Indian rosewood as well, so there's no wood substitutes going on here. The wood is important in a guitar like this, so it's nice to see those premium woods throughout. Speaking of solid woods, we have a solid cedar top, which is lightly braced. I can feel it actually responding to my voice here and starting to vibrate. It's also really percussive, so if you're into the tapping percussion thing that I'll show you in a second, this is going to respond beautifully to that. And that also adds to projection. Now, with a lightly braced top comes projection, but sometimes at the expense of sustain. That's not the case here. This guitar sustains really beautifully, as you'll hear in some of the examples that we'll play in just a moment. But I'm going to show you the back as well. Now the back is also all solid, as are the sides, and it's Indian rosewood, which is known for a beautiful, rich, deep low end, which this guitar certainly projects, and also that sparkling high end that we tend to get from rosewood paired with cedar. It's a really lovely combination. We also, as a nice touch, have this little rosewood end cap on the heel here, which is purely an aesthetic touch, but it just hints at this guitar's quality and the attention to detail that's been put into this instrument. I'll flip it over and show you the sides very quickly because they're also solid Indian rosewood. And we have this wood binding throughout as well. You can see it's a 3-ply binding down there. Now, one thing that sets this guitar apart from some more traditional models is the inclusion of an adjustable truss rod. Now, this may come as a surprise to you if you're primarily a steel string or an electric player, but a lot of classical instruments, certainly traditional ones, don't have a truss rod. And Kremona have elected to include these on all but their most affordable models going forward, which I think is a really important touch. It means we can get the action really comfortable and very playful playable, which we'll show in just a second when we do some more single notey type stuff. But I did mention the percussive nature of the top, and I want to explore that. So you'll have to bear with me on this one. I'm not really a percussive acoustic guitar player, so I'll try my best to demonstrate this for you. Don't expect virtuosity at this point, but I'll try my best and we'll see if we can show what sort of stuff you can accomplish if you're into tapping on the top to create some drum sounds. I'll also take this ring off that in case I mark this guitar. And then we'll come back, we'll do some more single note examples. So if you'll ignore my slightly ham-fisted playing on that example, you'll hear how percussive this top is. And if you're used to playing with that sort of style, you'll be able to draw out some fantastic tones from this instrument. It really responds very, very well to that, thanks to that loose, light bracing pattern. I'm assuming it's a light bracing pattern. It certainly feels that way to me as we tap around the top. It feels super responsive, which is really nice to see. Now, one last example we're going to play here is just to show you the playability of this guitar, because it is really a pleasure to play, and for fast passages all the way up into the dusty end past the non-cutaway neck join at the 12th fret, we can still get up and produce some really nice clean sounding notes that sound as even as notes further down the fretboard. And of course, it's a joy to play the fast stuff. So let's grab our pick again. We'll play through some fast lines just to show you how well this guitar plays. So there you go, guys. That's been a look at the Kremona Fiesta. If you're a nylon player, or perhaps you're just nylon curious and want a really high quality classical guitar that sounds beautiful, played with a pick, with fingers, and with percussive styles, and doesn't cost the earth, it's a surprisingly affordable guitar. It's by no means cheap, but surprisingly affordable for a guitar made by hand in Europe with all of these solid wood features and an adjustable truss rod, then this guitar should very much be on your radar. Once again, this is the Kremona Fiesta. My name is Nick Jennison for Guitar Interactive. I'll see you next time.